Hey everyone, it's Dr. K. Running can be a great part of your conditioning, great stress reliever for you, good personal time for yourself to decompress, but running with pain in your low back or your knee really sucks. Now, there's all sorts of reasons why you might have pain while you're running, but if you're dealing with this kind of nagging pain from, that's coming out of nowhere, that's just progressively getting worse and worse, then, here are a few things you should take a look at. First things first, the body's designed to move, but it also needs to be able to properly transfer force. Specifically when we're running, we're talking about upper body transferring through the core into the lower body and vice versa. Now, if you have very tight hips and your strong hip flexors are pulling you this way, it's basically going to shift your pelvis anteriorly, which is going to lengthen out your abdominal wall and your glutes and your hamstrings, really putting them in a compromised situation. Now, your hip flexors actually attach to the front of your spine, right where your mid back and your low back start to transition and meet. And so if your hip flexors are really tight, it's basically pulling you anteriorly forward this way, creating a lot of shear forces on your spine, which basically means it's loading up your back. That makes the rectors right over here really fire up because they're trying to kind of stabilize everything as much as possible. And that translates into overload of the system, and then that translates into back pain. Now, this might be the type of person who feels pain in their low back when they're running, or they have really tight hamstrings, even though they stretch them out all the time, and they just don't get to be any better at all. Now, if we take a look at the front of the hip, we have to think about fascia. Now, fascia is very strong and it's resistant to stretching, okay? So the big thick band of fascia coming down the side of your leg over to your knee is the IT band. Now, it takes so much force just to even stretch it 1%, that anyone who's telling you to, foam roll it, you're gonna release your IT band, anyone who's telling you that is basically selling you a load of crap. So you need to turn around and keep walking. But the IT band is very strong. Very dense. It's not meant to stretch, it's meant to transfer force. Now, where compensation strategies pop up, later develop into problems with your knees. For instance, if you're hip flexor dominant and your hip flexors are very strong, it doesn't mean that they don't fatigue quickly. So, as you get into that long run, your hip flexors start firing away and they start fatiguing. Your body doesn't know, which muscles are supposed to work, it just knows movement. So if you want to keep running, it's going to find another muscle to help do the job. And the next closest muscle is the TFL, which is like a semi-hip flexor. And the TFL actually inserts into the anterior of the IT band, which means, if it's attaching to the IT band and the IT band is supposed to transfer force, that means every time that little muscle is firing, it's contracting and pulling up on that IT band, which does not stretch, but eventually pulls on your knee. So, that should give you an idea of where to start focusing your attention on, back pain or knee pain while you're running. It's not always where you think the problem is. You have to kind of take a step back, take yourself outside that picture, and look above and below that problem. We really like to get into these things. I'd love to hear your insights on if this is working out for you. Let me know how I can help. Stay strong, inspire others.